I'm Don Mooers, and welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. Voters throughout Montgomery County will have 5 ballot questions to consider in this November's election. As always, the county's League of Women Voters will give the pros and cons of these questions in the Voter's Guide, which will be available in October. Elaine Apter, co-president of the State League of Women Voters, is here to review the questions for us. 1 in 3 children in the United States is obese. CCI Health and Wellness Services has developed a new program to deal with this difficult issue. José Luis Diaz of CCI has this story and hopefully even more. Safe, Healthy Playing Fields Coalition has been working for years to warn parents and schools of the danger that artificial turf poses for students and other athletes on our school fields and playgrounds. Montgomery County schools, thankfully, are finally taking this information seriously. Diana Conway, a board member of the coalition, is here to explain. Interfaith Works, one of the great organizations in our county, is launching an outreach to the community to make sure that everyone is reminded that there are year-round needs in our county for food, clothing, and other essentials that go beyond just the gift of a Thanksgiving turkey. Monica Young from Interfaith Works is here to tell us how we can help, as well as an exciting upcoming adventure. How are you doing, Elaine Apter?
I'm doing great. It's good to be back.
It's wonderful. It seems like there's an election. I mean, you're here.
Constantly.
We're either talking about what just happened, we're looking ahead of us, we're, whatever issues the league keeps us up to date on all sorts of key issues that we ought to be concerned about. But right now we're talking about ballot questions. How many are there?
Right, there are 5. There are 2 state and 3 from Montgomery County. They will be found after your Board of Education candidates, so be sure you go down to the end of the ballot so that you get your vote in. And the 2 state ones.
Let's go through them now. Let's go through quickly, and then we can come back and talk about
okay.
State ones.
The 2 state ones, one promises money for education over and above what's in the general fund,
okay.
So it supplants it. The second one deals with being able to register and vote on Election Day.
Okay. So
and those are the 2 state ones.
Let's go to the county ones.
And then we have 3 county. The first one changes the redistricting committee, and it opens it up to other than just Democrats and Republicans.
Okay.
Allows any registered voter to apply for the committee. The second one deals with increasing the property tax level above the consumer price index, and it's really wording. It changes it from 9 to all, so it still means you have to have a unanimous vote.
Let's go to the last one then.
And the last one is allowing the county council members to hire more of their aides not on the merit system. Right now they can only hire 1 aide not on the merit system. They would like to expand this to make the process go faster.
All right, before we open it up, any of those 5, they don't sound particularly contentious.
No, they've all been passed either by the state legislature or the county council. The thing is, it's a change in either the state constitution or the charter, so it must go back to the voters for an okay.
But just real quick, there's not been a big active, like there is sometimes, vote yes on ballot question C, no on B or whatever.
There doesn't seem to really be much opposition to both of them. But if you go to vote 411, you will find the pros and cons of all of these, so, and you will get even a much more deeper explanation of them.
So you think it's easy to miss these questions if you don't go all the way down?
Yes,
to
you can. You won't find them unless you go all the way down to the bottom of the ballot. So really make sure you go through the whole ballot so you get to answer all the questions.
Do you have a sense of which of the 5 is getting the most public interest? I mean, it sounds like maybe the education question and the funding for education would be a hot one.
That one it really has been, because what's happened before is, and it's done in any state, you pass money for the gaming to go for education.
Right.
And what happens is the money comes in to go for education, but the money funded in the general budget goes down.
Right.
So education is not getting more
increased.
money.
Didn't we see that with the lottery?
Yes,
That's exactly
and
what
that's
happened. The lottery
exactly
promised
what
all
it
this
was.
stuff, yeah.
The thing about this one is it only stipulates K through 12. It does not include higher
public colleges.
education.
Right.
It's pre-K through 12. So they're really concentrating on,
Do you have any sense of how much money we're talking about?
oh, we're talking about millions of dollars.
Yeah, annually.
Yeah, annually.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we be concerned about anything else, any of the other ones? I mean, I agree with the education piece.
Right. One of the interesting ones, I think, of the league thinks is this redistricting commission.
Right.
Because before it was only Democrats and Republicans, and they were chosen by the central committee of each
Oh,
one.
right, right.
This opens it up. The central committee is out of it
Where-
completely.
where-
Yeah.
Where did the impetus for this come from?
I think there's been a push, and League's number one priority at the state level is
Right.
to do redistricting
Yes.
commission,
Anti-gerrymandering.
independent, and get rid of gerrymandering. That is a big issue across the country right now.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that can help to broaden that redistricting
Don't we have one
commission.
of the nationally recognized best or worst
Worse,
districts?
worse,
Yeah, no, it's
yes.
like an
We've been
octopus
to the
that's been
Supreme
flattened.
Court,
Yeah,
yes, and we're, yes.
We've got about a minute
at the
left in
state
this.
level.
We've got a minute left in the segment. There's just so little time.
Okay.
What do you see happening? Do you see all 5 of them likely
I
passing?
probably see all 5 passing, but I really would encourage people to either check out the voter's guide in print when it comes out or go to vote411.org, because you will see an excellent explanation of each one of them and the pros and cons, so you can make up your own mind.
And tell your friends.
And tell your friends, right. Spread the word, get to the bottom of the
Right.
ballot.
All right, we'll get to the bottom of that. What can we look ahead to in 2019 for the league, just real quick?
Redistricting
Great.
and redistricting commission at the state level. Yeah.
Because 2020
We're
is-
working on transportation is a big one at the local level.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And we're going to redistrict, and you're going to be in charge. You're going to make this happen.
We're going to work on it very hard.
Elaine, thank
Good.
you very much. So while you're
My pleasure.
redistricting, we need to get some exercise to be able to visit all of the various districts.
Yes,
and
well,
that's where,
we
and that's
did
where,
have this walk and run around District 3.
which would be a great place for families to go out in the fight against obesity.
That's correct. It's become such a public health issue.
1 in 3.
1 in 3 kids in the U.S. is considered to be overweight or obese.
Thanks for coming
And
back, José Luis. It's always great when you're here.
I am
because we
so
learn
very
so
happy to
much.
be back because we have, as a community health center, we see and feel the pulse of the nation because we deal with people that have issues that all of us have, but are compounded by socioeconomic
Right.
elements. But what we do know about the issue of obesity and overweight is that the reason why it's a public health threat is because we're now seeing kids presenting with chronic issues that are usually seen in adults.
Like what?
Type 2 diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, kids from the age 6 through 16. So that's a horrible thing to have to deal with this
Right.
population.
Right.
Now, it sounds really, really gloomy, right? And then you add the social stigma, right, of being overweight.
Yes.
Social isolation, depression, lower self-esteem. So pretty sad picture.
But you have a solution. I
We
understand.
do,
What
we
is that
do.
solution? Real easy.
The great news is that it's preventable and it is manageable. And it does take the whole family to be involved. And one of the things that we started doing a year ago is exactly that. We grab the whole family and they get 6 months of nutritional counseling through a registered dietitian that is a staff member of us. In addition to that, we give them 5 weeks of physical training and workshops through
Okay.
a partnership with the University of Maryland. And then we prescribe parks.
Mm-hmm.
We use a website called Parks RX. You type in a zip code and then you get a list of all the parks within walking distance that can help you remain active and get involved as a family.
So when you say you work with these communities, are you going into the communities? Are you bringing people into some kind of center you're running?
So we have health centers throughout Montgomery County, and it's like a doctor's office. And when one of our pediatric patients shows up and we look at their BMI and they're overweight or obese, we said, we have this program,
Right.
but it requires the whole family.
Right.
To
And
be
they have
part
to
of
sort of
it.
sign up for it, or
So they have
pledge?
to volunteer to be part of it.
Right.
and pledge that they're going to work on during this 6 months.
Are you working with the schools also? Because they have really cut back on their physical education and recess and things. And hopefully that is changing a little bit.
That's a great point. We don't have a formal relationship with the school systems. However, we do have liaisons that all of our population, we're in the upper part of Montgomery County, the middle, and so
How many centers do you have?
we have 9 primary care facilities.
Do you guys do any community outreach?
We do.
Do you come out to places in which there's a large audience?
We do. We don't have a large outreach capacity, but we do go out to all of the major events like 5Ks that friends and organizations have throughout. And
We're going to hear about a 5K in the last story,
We
so maybe
will.
that's a great place for you guys to be working
Absolutely. And one of the ideas that we're trying to figure out to do is how do we help these families? How do we underwrite these families' participations in activities like that are happening in their neighborhoods?
What about, I mean, I think a lot of the communities that are suffering from social economic stigmas to begin with or challenges tend not to be intact families, where they tend to have additional challenges that make it hard for a whole family to come in and say we're doing A or B or C together.
Yeah, well, the philosophy of care that we embrace is a patient-centered philosophy. So we analyze the situation of every patient and try to understand what circumstances they're living within and adapt whatever treatment plans we want to do to make sure that we address any of those issues.
What about nutrition? A lot of times they don't have access to really healthy foods.
And that's one of the challenges that a lot of the people that we are dealing with are folks that might not have access to nutritious food. But we have opportunities. We run the WIC program, which is a nutrition assistance program in the state, and they provide access to through money to nutritious food and farmers market.
You've got Mana
Farmers
Foods
markets,
and you've got other
Absolutely.
folks working together. You got about 45 seconds left.
So there's 4 things that we all have to remember. It's 5, 2, 1, 0.
All right, what are they, real quick?
5 fruit or veggies, 5 fruit or veggies servings per day.
Okay.
2 or less hours of screen time every day. 1 hour of physical activity, and more importantly, 0 sugary drinks. That's
Zero
it.
sugary drinks, limited television or limited video. You've got to get out there and you've got to get all your orders of veggies, broccoli,
That's right.
and whatever else, tomatoes.
That's right. And just walk around the block
walk
or
around
kick the ball around in the patio.
And an hour of physical activity for our generation, I'm so much older than all of you combined, but that was nothing.
That was nothing. If it wasn't raining, you were outside.
Right.
Okay.
So we need to get back to those times.
Let's get back to those times.
Yes.
José Luis, you helped us get back to those times. Elaine, José Luis, great start. Look forward to the second half. And we'll be right back for the second half after this. And we're back. Diana, welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
You have kind of failed us, though. Last
Sorry.
time you were here,
Yes.
talking about the River Falls, those fields, and they're not going to have artificial turf, or wanting to make sure. I mean, we're talking about lots of different things. Then we're talking about the artificial fields,
Right.
and this and that.
Synthetic turf, yeah.
Synthetic turf. We still have synthetic turf fields. What's going on?
We s-
Why?
Well, some people hear different things when I try to talk. We have 5 main arguments we make. One is about the heat, the excessive heat, up to 180 degrees on these synthetic turf fields.
Wow.
Seems like a very poor place to get an hour of exercise a day. The second is the extreme toxicity of these fields, regardless of the infill. The third one is the cost, which vastly exceeds the cost of grass, which is healthier and safer and softer. The fourth one is injuries and hardness of the fields. DC just had to close 12 fields. For the second year in a row, MCPS has turned up in Forbes magazine, unflatteringly, for its super hard fields. And then the fifth one is kind of a big deal for government, and that's liability.
That's when you add all these things up, the toxicity, the hardness of the fields, and
Yes.
everything else.
And you add it up over the
years.
years that it's
Right.
been piling up. People have been looking at this issue for 15 or 20 years.
And why is it so prevalent that they have these kind of
Because
things?
on one hand, you have people selling grass, which is not a very high margin market, except if you're in landscaping. And on the other hand, you have an extremely profitable industry that has taken a major waste product like tires and said, we're going to grind them up, and we're not going to declare it to be a children's product, so it's not regulated. and we're going to make $1 million a field, and you have to buy a new one every 6 to 8 years.
But let me ask you this.
No wonder they don't like me.
Because there's no, but there's, I don't think there's anybody who's not been involved with a school or parks or whatever, where you hear it's the cost-benefit analysis that they come at, that it's the maintenance issues. That'd be far cheaper over the long term to have a synthetic field that has X number of years of life compared to a grass field and maintenance.
And
address that issue.
What you've told me is that you've heard their marketing pitch, and they are a high-profit industry with very polished marketing materials. We're a bunch of volunteers, scientists, athletes, parents, environmentalists, fiscal hawks. Basically, most of that information is wrong. If you properly maintain a synthetic turf field, it is not cheaper. It is highly toxic. Lead, mercury, arsenic, these are not safe things to put kids on. And the idea that it's safer, even as a playing surface, between the heat and the injury rates. The fields get hard, you get a concussion. The professional athletes hate these fields, and they get the nice ones. You look at the fields at Walter Johnson, they're falling apart. Literally, I was on there with the WJLA team, pulling up handfuls, not even pulling on it, just it had come up handfuls of this grass. If the plastic grass can't stay in place, it can't hold the infill, these granular tire bits. If it can't hold the infill, the field is hard.
And it's that infill that's what, in the early parts, before the disintegration of the grass, talked about that's what you're ingesting as well. You're either eating it, if your face goes in, or it gets all in the
it does,
breathing
and
in, whatever else,
you're
right?
breathing it in because it breaks down over time, and so the result is it aerosolizes. There are 3 vectors for exposure. There's inhalation, ingestion, and dermal uptake. And anybody who's played on these fields know you could get a terrific turf burn. I mean, just shredded skin, very dramatic. And they're filthy, so they have to be treated with all these chemicals all the time.
Well, when they first came in, the injury problem was immediate.
Yes.
But nobody seemed to care or listen because the idea of this cheaper maintenance came through.
And honestly, it's not cheaper because the fields are falling apart, and the main industry leader that MCPS has hired for years, Field Turf, is facing class action suits across the country from school districts from San Francisco to New Jersey because the fields failed prematurely. That's not cheaper. And when they replace them under warranty, they don't give you a new warranty. You get a replacement of the same product that failed for free, or you get to buy a new product still with no warranty, more money.
What about environmental? With all the rain and flooding, grass absorbs and the land absorbs. What about the turf? It does.
When
it
it's
runoff?
new, well, when they're new, they're very expensive, in part because of the engineering that has to go below the fields. So you've got gravel, you've got all this expensive engineering. That's why the upfront cost is so high. So when they're new, they will drain pretty well. As they compact, especially in a jurisdiction that's not maintaining them well, they tend to become more and more impervious, so you get more runoff. If you get more runoff, you lose more infill again, and again your fields get hard. And that stuff is going into our streams. So you're putting lead and mercury and zinc into our streams. Zinc is toxic to aquatic life, and it accumulates in
What's the solution?
The solution is, that's a great
30
question.
seconds left here.
The solution is grass, well-engineered, high-performance grass. The guy who ran the Soccerplex says he can do 2 high-quality grass fields for the cost of 1 synthetic field.
If you prepare that field, the grass field, well, with good drainage and everything else properly, you're going to deal with a lot of these issues.
It would take all of the issues.
Okay. Look, don't fail us.
I'm working
Come
on it.
back and let's have healthy
We're
kids
going to have
out
healthy
there.
fields.
Yes.
Healthy fields that people can run around on as
Absolutely,
families. Thanks,
safely.
Oh my gosh, it's Monica time.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
So Thanksgiving is not the only day when folks need help with food and other essentials.
Definitely
is that right?
not.
364 days, sometimes 365 days on leap years. That's other.
It's a lot of need. There's a lot of need out there, and we truly appreciate the people that come forward at Thanksgiving, at Christmas.
Absolutely.
But the truth of the matter is that we have other 10 months to worry about. Needs in the country are increasing. Poverty is up. We have a high number of people in need of many things.
Right.
So I want to encourage you to guys check us out, check our website, come and see what you do. And sometimes more than things, we need your time. We need your time to come and volunteer. For example, at the clothing center, I have a lot of bags to be sorted and to help me hang up so that we can serve the 13,000 clients that we see per year.
Let me ask you about that. My daughter, my son, both my sons, they spend a lot of time in the clothing center doing their service projects, their outreach, and two of their schools, they had more, higher service requirements than the county schools. Is it still, those partnerships, are we still seeing a lot of kids who are interested in
Definitely, definitely, especially during the summer. And I would, as parents, we need to encourage our kids to take care of those hours right away, because we have a lot of kids that come like Friday and they said, I have to have my hours in by Monday and I need 57 hours. And we have to do the math a little bit, we have to do the math.
And you're open all night to take care of those kids, right?
24/7. Well, we wish I could. So we have to, as parents, encourage that. But yes, we're certified to approve the hours of SSL, and especially at this time of the year in which people are already cleaning their homes and cleaning their spaces for the holidays, we have a tremendous amount of donations to sort. Thank you for the...
I'm very, for the plug, yeah, of
for
course.
The plug, yes.
I love the organization Interfaith Works. We actually have a spot together. But one of the things that I found that was interesting, 35% of the homeless women that were on your shelter are employed,
are
gainfully
working,
employed full time. And to me, that was mind-boggling. That somebody who has a full-time job doesn't have a place to live.
No living wage.
Has to go back.
And so that's a difficult thing. But it goes back to the whole idea of having a much more aware community. Like the kids who are volunteering, having an engaged.
Definitely.
Do you have partnerships that are better with some schools than others? Do you have?
You know what, we have a relationship at different levels with every single school, private and county schools. We never have the bulk of volunteers that we need. We need a lot of manpower, a lot of manpower.
So we're talking about really kind of FSH, family service hours, as opposed to SSL. We
Yes,
want to come in.
yes, the whole gang. You need to be 14. There's an age limit minimum to come, but we can definitely use as many volunteers. And then these shelters, thank you again for the plug. These shelters can use people who will be able to cook a meal or make sandwiches and bring it to the shelters, because we don't have a stove per se. So you have to bring the food almost ready just to use a warmer. But time is coming up. We see a lot of people who need gas cards. We need a lot of people who need food cards. I mean, there's a lot of needs. So check us out.
But I'm looking at this thing right now. This is Empower. I found this. It's out there. There's a big thing coming up on October 20th.
That's
it's the
right.
Empower MoCo 5K, 1K. What's this all about?
It's our famous yearly race, 5K and 1K for the entire family. And I want you guys to please join us. It's going to be a fun activity. LL Bean is one of our the people that are sponsoring, and they're going to have this adventure thing for kids. Bring your kids. It's a very family-oriented. It will be starting at the clothing center, actually, 751 Twinbrook Parkway. And right there in the front, you can't miss us. And we'll have for the real runners, a real run, a 5K that is well monitored, and you will warm up and then we'll get awards. So
Going back to your shelters, how many shelters are you operating?
Well, we have right now three big centers, including the ICC, but we have actually 6 locations. We have about 83 women at Taft Court, and these are single women. Most of them are working, or the majority of them are working, but they need meals, they need lunches, they need a lot of things.
I would assume as the weather changes too, you're going
winter
to go
coats.
into,
We're coming.
I thought you were coming to talk about winter coats. I thought we were ready, because I love that winter coat discussion. About 30
all
seconds
of a
left.
sudden, it's going to get
But I
cold.
thought part of the issue was that you're getting turkeys and you're getting winter coats, but the needs are much more granular sometimes, like underwear and socks, or...
That's the number one thing. We need underwear and socks, all sizes, all the time. But I have to tell you, it's not about turkey, because the diversity of this wonderful county, which we're so grateful for, it doesn't make everybody like a turkey. When I get the frozen turkey and I give it to one of my Central American clients,
what are you talking about?
What that is?
What are you
that
talking
is? And I
about?
say, just a big chicken. Just cook it like a big chicken.
Exactly.
So let's call us.
Yes.
Love to
And that's just
Call-
one meal.
help us.
Or more.
Help us. What a great end to this show.
Help us.
We're going to help you. Let's all help one
Thank you,
another.
Don.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Helping one another is what Montgomery County is all about, what this show is all about. I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Mooers, welcoming you Join us next week at this very same time.